topic of discussion is summary writing. How to summarize a particular paragraph or a passage which is given to you. There are a few steps we must follow. Firstly, here 5 steps have been mentioned in order to help you to write a summary. What's given here is, first, that is most important, that is, we must read the passage unless we understand it completely. After being able to comprehend, that is to understand the passage, we will take notes as to what to use in our summary and what not to use. We will identify the author's most important points. Which points are there? Which points we cannot do without. So those are the most important points or the most highlighted points. Then we will write a summary using the notes we have made. After preparing a rough note, we should check our summary and see if it conveys the complete meaning of the original passage. You have to shorten it, that you have to brief it. That does not mean that you will leave out a few points here and there which will make it incomplete. You cannot do that. The meaning should be intact, but it has to be abbreviated. So we have to check the summary against the original, and once we do so, we can revise and edit the summary for errors. After preparing, we have to revise, which we all should do at all times, and then we should edit our summary for whatever errors that we might have made while writing it. After that, we move on to what is summary. We know how you are usually asked to make a summary or prepare a summary of a certain passage. Then what is a summary? That all, the formal definition of a summary is, what is a summary? It is a brief statement or account of the main points of something. Okay, whatever the main points are of something, it may be a passage, and that's exactly what we have to do. We have to identify the main relevant points and we have to write them in our own words. It's better to use our own words, and we have to write it in an organized manner. Okay. First, we need to read the question properly. What exactly do you have to write a summary on? In the question, they could specify one or more detail. Suppose there's a entire passage given, and you asked to write summary not on the entire passage, but on a particular fact. Or you may be asked to summarize the entire passage. 2 types of questions may be there, so you have to concentrate on what the question is. So you need to write the summary on just those details, and we have to leave out the rest in case if the summary is based on a particular question. Read the passage. As you go, underline the points that you need to include in your summary and that are relevant to the question. Suppose this is an example. Suppose this is a passage about a shipwrecked survivor. Is a Chinese man, Poon Lin, is famous for being the longest shipwreck survivor. He spent 133 days in the sea when his ship went down in the South Atlantic after leaving Cape Town. It took just 2 minutes for the ship to sink, and the only man who managed to survive was poor Lim. Despite the mad chaos of the sinking, exploding ship, Lim was still able to grab a life jacket, which was vital as he had never learned to swim well. He floated in the ocean for what he estimated to be around 2 hours until he spotted one of the ship's life rafts. It was a wooden raft about 2.5 meters square, partially covered by a canvas roof. After much effort, Lim succeeded in reaching it, and although weak, managed to pull himself aboard. Luckily for Lim, On the life raft, there were some bottles of juice and tins of biscuits, together with 2 flares, a flashlight, and even some chocolate. What are flares? They usually shoot it and sparkles go above. It's used for, suppose you're trapped somewhere and you need someone to rescue you. So you use flares, to pinpoint your location. So some 2 flares, a flashlight, and even some chocolate. Once Lim realized that his emergency provisions were running out, he knew that he had to invent ways to find food and water. He used the canvas from the roof and his life jacket to make a container to catch rainwater. He had never been fishing and had no skills to help him. But he improvised by making a fishing hook. Improvise means, since you don't have that fishing line, so you kind of make yourself one. So you improvise by making a fishing hook out of the wire from the flashlight and the jagged edges of the biscuit tins. By day 60, he was aware that he was losing physical strength, so he began to swim around the life raft twice a day. The routine continued until a particular bad storm nearly destroyed his life raft. Against all the odds, he survived and was able to repair the damage. However, this experience left him feeling even more terrified about his situation. Lim had never seen such a variety of beautiful creatures, sea creatures, and spent many hours observing the fish that swam around him. However, he was alarmed by the threatening sharks that at times surrounded his life raft and occasionally attacked him. Lim survived for almost 5 months. On 2 occasions, he spotted a ship, and once a plane passed by near him, but each time his shouts and frantic waving went unnoticed. The nightmare only came to an end when he was picked up by Brazilian fishermen on April 5th, 1943, about 10 miles from land. They sailed to Belém, Brazil, a town at the mouth of the Amazon River. Upon arriving in Belém, suffering from several sunburn, he spent 4 weeks at the local hospital to recover and regain his physical fitness. He explained to people that he had worked hard not to lose a sense of hope that he would finally be rescued. Lim went on to live to the age of 72, and even now, 133 days remains the longest time for one person to survive being lost at sea in a life raft. When he was told about his record, Lim said, "I hope no one will ever have to break it." So in this particular passage, you have been asked not to paraphrase, not to make a summary of the entire passage, but to just show how Lim survived and what methods did he use for survival. Therefore, see, the red marks are given to specify the points which the person is going to use to make a summary. So only that particular incident is needed, not the entire passage. So only the points which will be needed have been highlighted. Now, what is a summary? It is easier said than done. You have got all points. Now you need to collate and organize it into one write-up using your own words. Write a one-line introduction that tells the examiner what you're writing a summary on. That person will know that you're summarizing this particular portion. If the question is mentioned there, try to keep it short. In the example above, you should start the summary by writing, "Poor Lim A shipwreck victim managed to survive an astounding 33 days on an island all alone. And how did he do that? So, and what am I writing on? I'm writing on how Lim survived 133 days on an island, or he was all alone there. So that is my area of concern. So I'm starting that line, with such a line that tells the examiner what am I going to talk about, or what my write-up, what the matter of my write-up is to be. Then you have to start organizing the points. You could do it chronologically, advantage, disadvantage format, or problem solution format, whichever works for you. In the above example, writing points in the chronological order seems to be right choice because it's a narrative style. So how the person got on a raft and how he dealt with problems one after the other. So it's better we write in the chronological order. Like chronological order means again, the correct according to the correct time frame. Whichever happened first should come first. Whatever happened later should come later on. So then use connectives, that is to join. Like we can use firstly, secondly, thirdly, or in addition, also, furthermore, consequently, as a result, thus, hence, etc. You can use your own words. You can use synonyms of words in the passage if possible. And in the example above, the phrase invented ways to find food can be changed to came up as a phrasal verb with a system to obtain food and water. You don't have to write a conclusion. If the question asked you to write the summary on the entire passage, then you have to use a conclusion. But if it's based on a particular question, then it may not be necessary. Then you have to stick to the word limit, make it as short as possible. For the core paper, it's better to have 70-80 words. Don't write too much. Scrap out unnecessary points which are not relevant. In this particular example here, this is a passage given, and here you have to summarize this entire passage, not like the earlier one where only a particular segment was dealt with. Here the entire passage, you have to deal with the entire passage. Now be very wary of opinion that flatters your self-esteem. Both men and women, 9 times out of 10, are firmly convinced of the superior excellence of their own sex. Some people believe that females are the best. Some people know the male race is the best. And there's always a strife. There's abundant evidence on both sides. If you are a man, you can point out that most poets and men of science are male. If you are a woman, you can retort saying that so are most criminals. Most criminals are also males. So it's a debatable issue. The question is inherently insoluble. Naturally, people will always come up with some or the other facts to battle the issue. So it's insoluble, but self-esteem conceals this from most people. What are all, whatever part of the world we come from, persuaded that our own nation is superior to all? We say India is Sare Jahan se Achha, the best in the world, isn't it? So, we all believe that our particular nation is the best. Seeing that each nation has its own characteristics, its own merits and demerits, we adjust our standards of value so as to make out that the merits possessed by our nation are the really important ones. Therefore, we believe that ours is the best, while its demerits are comparatively trivial. We have demerits, but it's very trivial. So, in a way, we say that no, whatever we have, it makes us the best. Here again, the rational man will admit. The rational man means a man who has the ability to think properly without being prejudiced or without having formed notions, earlier notions about something. So that person is a rational man, And that person will admit that the question is one which there is no demonstrably right answer. Here, you cannot have any right or wrong answer because everyone will come up with their own story to prove that they are the best. That's self-esteem. That's the negativity of self-esteem. It is more difficult to deal with the self-esteem of man as man because we cannot argue out the matter with some non-human mind. We have to argue with the man. The only way I know of dealing with such general human conceit is to remind ourselves that man is just a brief episode in the life of a small planet. Ours is a small planet, which is a part of the solar system, and that solar system is again a very tiny part of the Milky Way galaxy, which is again a very tiny part of the entire universe. There are approximately 125 galaxies, most probably. So you realize how small the Earth is where we live, and the country we live in is smaller, and the city we live in is smaller, and the house. So we are just a speck in the universe. So our existence is quite inconsequential, and that for aught we know, there might be others in the cosmos who may contain beings as superior to ourselves as we consider ourselves to be superior to jellyfish. In that way, the other people might be living. We have this alien theory. So there might, aliens might exist who might be quite superior to us, and to them, we are just, we are equal to jellyfish. So there's no point having self-esteem. Not in the positive way, I say. Here, first example, between men and women, the battle between different countries, the people feel that my country is better, yours is not as good. Man battling against man, thinking that I am superior, you are not. So these are all negativity of self-esteem. So how do we paraphrase the entire thing? You have to sort out that the negative sides of self-esteem. So the author makes the reader aware. How are we presenting? The author makes the reader aware about the negative sides of self-esteem, providing some examples or with some examples. Firstly, both men and women believe that their sex is superior to the others. Men believe that their sex is superior, while women believe that theirs are superior. They are superior. There is no solution to the dispute. But people deny to understand that is due to self-esteem. We are so conceited that we do not understand that we are equal in a way. It means every person is unique in his own way, every race is unique in their own way, everyone has their own merits and demerits. So nobody is superior, nobody is inferior. Again, there is no answer to which nation is superior of all others. But man thinks his own nation to be superior. There again the problem arises. Again, another negative example of self-esteem is that man thinks himself to be superior to all other creatures in the universe. So we see 3 points here. First, the comparison between men and women, one claiming to be superior than the other. Then nations, war amongst nations, one claims to be superior than the other. Then again we see that the negativity that man thinks himself to be superior to the other creatures in the universe. But the true fact is that human life is just a tiny speck. How does the author make us understand that instead of fighting, we have to understand that human life is simply a tiny speck in the huge frame of time and huge space of the universe, and there may be other beings in other parts of the vast universe which may be far superior to man of the planet Earth. So this is how we summarize. We have to understand the main issues being discussed in the passage. Here, the negativity of self-esteem has been discussed, and the author has also provided examples. First, men, women, then we have between nations, then man against all other creations. So, and then it is being firstly there, see the connectors, how the connection has been made, how beautifully the passage has been summarized. And after you summarize the passage, you will understand what the passage really wants to convey, what the author wishes to convey from the passage. That should be made very clear from the summary that you will be writing. You simply don't copy everything down. When you are asked to paraphrase a particular, when you are asked to make a summary of a particular passage, just simply don't copy it down. Try to use your own. First, understand it and use your own words. Suppose you have to explain the entire thing in a few words to someone else. Then what will you do? Think it that way. You're reading a passage and you understood that passage. Now, if you're asked to explain it to someone else in a few words, very briefly, what will you do? What will you write? Okay, so think about that and then you will be able to solve it. For that, actually writing needs a lot of practice. So start practicing. In your books, you have various topics provided, various passages provided. Try to summarize them, make points, select the points. Suppose here, you will select the points, you will underline as shown here. Here a particular question was asked, from this particular segment was needed, and here the entire passages. So from the entire passage, you have to select points which are needed, analyze those points and try to connect them using your own words, and it will surely be as we expect it to be. Do not copy every point from here. Do not copy word to word. That will not be a summary, and then you will not be given marks.